Well, welcome everyone to another episode, another podcast, another conversation known as Dallas Unplugged. This is our official Dallas Area Habitat podcast, and it's a wonderful opportunity for Dallas Area Habitat to talk about all things affordable housing, all things happening in our city or within our region. One of the benefits of these conversations in the Dallas Unplugged podcast is we're able to have special guests join us. You saw a podcast previously with myself. I'm Joli Robinson, the VP of Government Affairs and Public Policy here at Dallas Area Habitat, really talking about the foundation that we're going to lay for our 2021 podcast. And it's going to be about all things affordable housing, the different components, the thoughts, the ideas, the partners that we have in this space. And one of the partners that we have in this space is our board. And on today's Dallas Unplugged podcast, we have our board chair, Dawn. Dawn, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, Joli. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very flattered that you've asked me to share my perspectives on this. In addition to serving as chair of the board of Dallas Area Habitat for Humanity, I also serve as Vice President of Communications at Children's Health, which is one of the largest pediatric hospitals in the country. So thank you again for having me today.
Absolutely, Dawn. I really appreciate it. I think your perspective as a board chair and your perspective at Children's Health is absolutely critical to this affordable housing conversation. As you know, folks, if you've seen my face before, I have my trusty dusty notes and agenda so that I kind of stay on point and I just don't go out there in left field. So you'll see me look down every so often, and I'm just being sure that we're really talking about all the different elements of the affordable housing conversation, and we're not leaving anything out. So again, thank you, Dawn, for joining us. Thank you for your work on the board. Thank you for being the chair and the leadership that you have in that space. So Dallas Area Habitat has really been focused on affordable housing since the late 80s here in the city of Dallas. Our footprint is not only the city of Dallas, but Dallas County. And so we have some build sites in some different cities other than Dallas. We focus on advocacy. We focus on building homes, volunteering, and of course, it could all not be possible if we didn't have those donations from our wonderful supporters out there. And so thank you to those that have been supporting Dallas Area Habitat and all the work that we've done in this city. One of the things that we focused on this week was how do we respond to our families that have experienced some sort of damage to their home due to the storms. We have to think about what that looks like. How can we support our homeowners, our Habitat homeowners, and then meet those needs as we can. So I'm really thankful for those that support us in that space. The affordable housing conversation is one that our city, the city of Dallas, really has been talking about for years. There's a City of Dallas Comprehensive Housing Policy Plan that our city council adopted a couple of years ago. The Dallas Morning News has done a couple of different stories about the affordable housing space and what that looks like, why sometimes it's difficult for affordable housing to even happen here in the city. There's a lot of solutions for affordable housing. In the previous podcast, I talked about a couple of different terms when people are talking about affordable housing. Not only do you have people talking about affordable housing, they also talk about workforce housing. So sometimes you'll hear that term. You'll also hear the term about equitable access to housing, which also talks about credit, bank, financing. What does that look like to get people into their home? So again, I want to reiterate the focus of our 2021 Dallas Unplugged podcast is purely affordable housing, the different angles, the different topics and conversations that people are having across not only our city, but our state and our country. So I'm going to go right into the Q&A, a little conversation with Dawn. She joined us today. And Dawn, just describe your role on the board. Give us some feedback about what that looks like.
So as board chair, my job is to make sure that we use all of our talents, resources, and expertise in ways to support Habitat and the community to the fullest. Most importantly, though, my job is to listen to the needs of the organization and the needs that the organization is prioritizing, and then determine how the board can best support our leaders as Habitat goes out to deliver on the goals.
Thank you. I know you mentioned this before, there's a variety of committees that the board has, right, to help us further support that mission. Anything you want to add around those different committees?
So what I really like is the committee that you lead, Joli. We're seeing a lot of really great work coming out of the committee that supports advocacy for habitat. And we've also been very focused on adding board members that have those key advocacy skills so that we can better support those goals. So that's that I've been really pleased to see grow over the last few years.
Thank you, Don. Now, how or why did you get plugged into Dallas Area Habitat?
Well, I got started in 1999. Yes, a while ago, through my church, First United Methodist Church, Richardson. That's where my husband and I volunteered on a build site years ago. My husband is very handy. I am not. And so we were looking for, we were looking for some different ways to volunteer that supported our skill sets. And these are really strong ones for him. And very quickly, I really connected to the mission. If you've met any of our core volunteers that lead build sites, you will immediately, their passion just shines through with everything they do. And I just quickly discovered, I learned there were so many other ways to become involved with Habitat besides a build site that I quickly realized that I could also become involved. Another reason though that I became involved is I feel really very strongly that every person should have equal opportunities for success in our society. And that society should work together to level the playing field. So what I have found is through Habitat, through its affordable housing focus, which is financial education, advocacy efforts, neighborhood empowerment programs, I have seen firsthand how transforms families and revitalizes neighborhoods, and is just working together to build a better Dallas. And I wholeheartedly believe in the mission of Dallas, our Dallas Habitat, and that we're going to provide opportunities for people and the tools, most importantly, the tools for people to have success. Because truly everyone deserves a decent place to live and an opportunity to achieve their dreams. And that's what Habitat's providing for the community.
Beautiful. I love the line that you just said. Everyone deserves a decent place to live. I am honored to be a part of that work here at Dallas Area Habitat in order, like you said, public policy and advocacy, advocate for those things. And the affordable housing space is one way we do it. I love the conversation when we talk about people's aha moments, right? Like I talked a little bit about my aha moments in the podcast that I did a month or so ago. I really want to hear some of your aha moments as you joined, as you got more immersed into the work of Dallas Area Habitat.
Well, one of my aha moments was that Habitat doesn't give away houses. We don't. That is one of the most common misperceptions about Habitat. Not only do Habitat homeowners pay a monthly mortgage, but they invest in their homes with what we call sweat equity, which is they work on the build sites, but that's just one piece of the sweat equity. I think where they spend actually the majority of their time with sweat equity is in homeowner and financial education classes. Because Habitat is not going to just give someone a home. They're going to make sure someone can be successful and build the wealth by owning a home.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's a whole qualification process that happens.
Mm-hmm.
There's a financial education process that happens to equip our homeowners, potential homeowners, with the information they need to really be great in the space of owning. Sometimes this is their first home. Sometimes these homeowners are coming to us with no prior experience of owning a home. So really that financial education piece, as you mentioned, we don't give away homes. I know some people think that we do, but it's just not even financially feasible to give away homes. But one way we make that happen, right, is people get a qualification process. They go through classes, all of that. The whole process is on our website, dallasareahabitat.org. If anyone out there is interested, maybe you thought we gave away homes, maybe you didn't, and you're trying to figure out how you can become a Dallas Area Habitat homeowner, our website, and we'll be sure to provide that link and all of that information, dallasareahabitat.org, will tell you the process of becoming a Dallas Area Habitat homeowner.
On the topic of sweat equity and that model, I think it's very important because it overcomes that, it proves wrong the cultural bias that people who can't afford a decent place to live, or honestly, people who more generally live in poverty, are somehow responsible for their own situation because of lack of motivation or willingness to work hard. And Habitat homeowners, our homeowners actually shatter this stereotype every single day with the amount of effort they do put into being able to buy a home. It's the same as anyone else. And so I really appreciate that Habitat can help, kind of change that or prove wrong that cultural bias.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. Thank you, Don, for sharing that. Our Dallas area habitat homeowners, there's a responsibility to put some sweat equity of their own into building the homes, as we have a set of core volunteers that go out and build on a variety of homes. Right now, we're in the Ideal community. We're building in Joppy. We've built in West Dallas and Bonton. The families that are going to eventually be moving into those homes have an opportunity to help with wall, put some windows in, bang some nails with a hammer, right? I'm not the construction professional here, but in the Dallas area habitat space, we have a whole construction team that works through the process and incorporates our Dallas area habitat families into the process of putting a little sweat equity in their home. So thank you, Don, for speaking to that. One of the things I am also really focused on is like action oriented. What can people do? What has the board done? What can people do out there that are not already involved in Dallas area habitat? How can they get involved and engaged?
Well, there's a lot of ways that they can get involved and engaged. Well, I think that pretty much you can get involved and engaged any way you would like. One of the ways you can get involved and engaged is by working on a habitat build. You don't have to have experience. Like you said, you're not handy, but you are very welcome on a build site. I am not handy. I am very welcome on a build site because, as you talked about, we have very passionate and impressive core volunteers who are experienced with building, and they have helped guide me many times. They've actually taught me a lot. And so they've taught me so much that I've learned new skills where I actually can fix things on my own home now, thanks to that. So that's one way you can. So you're leading some initiatives too, Joli, on other ways to get involved, including some of the young professional groups.
Yeah. We have a Habitat Young Professionals group. Many of the affiliates across the country have a young professionals group that's really, serving not only our young professionals as they're, moving throughout their career, but also serves the larger habitat needs and priorities. Again, my focus is advocacy, public policy, government affairs. And so with that Habitat Young Professionals, we call them HYPE, HYP, with the Habitat Young Professionals, how can we get them motivated, engaged? How can we teach them the skills necessary to advocate in and about affordable housing? Is it writing to their elected officials? Is it ensuring that they're registered to vote? We have an upcoming Dallas City Council election. Are they registered to vote in order to take part in that civic process? So there's a variety of ways. There's the Restore. I talk about the Restore in the first Dallas Unplugged podcast that I did. I talk about the Restores and the plethora of items you can find there. This picture behind me is from the Dallas Restore. And there's opportunities to volunteer there as well. And as you mentioned, Don, you and your husband became a part of the Dallas Habitat mission several years ago with your church.
Well, and I do want to get a plug into, you can also donate. And because I will assure you that Dallas Habitat puts all donations to very good use. Currently, we're working on a women's build, and I am very involved in that effort to really show that women can also be, the truth is that Habitat helps single mothers. And so there's a huge important component for how Habitat helps single mothers and helps just families in general, but also there's a component to make sure that women can also have, that they don't end up living in poverty because they tend to be impacted by it the most.
Right. We have a huge population of our Habitat homeowners, as you mentioned, that are single mothers, head of household. And this is one way, being at homeowner is one way they can build generational wealth for themselves and their families. So we love to be a part of that space. We hope that you stay engaged if you're out there listening or watching with our Habitat efforts, including the Women Build. Thank you, Don. We're kind of wrapping up. Anything else that you want to add? I always give my 3 things. People are probably going to get tired of hearing me say it. Advocate, donate, and volunteer. Those things are critical, and we need your help in that space at Dallas Area Habitat. Anything, Don, you would like to add?
I also want to mention that we have extensive education that we provide families that we serve. And when we talk about families that we serve, this is for any family anywhere. Our vision is to use education and home ownership and counseling as a catalyst to combat poverty and promote home ownership for families in our city, but families anywhere. And we have put together extensive home ownership and financial education courses for free for budgeting and things like budgeting and money management, saving for college, buying a home, retirement planning. And we've launched all of this on a mobile app because we do know that mobile tends to be a convenient way that most people that they want to access the information. And so we have launched a mobile app and have the first digital education library in the country. But what's been most impressive is as we've continued to grow, we've had more than 9,000 course completions, which is triple the amount that we had in the previous year. So even through COVID, we are still delivering on our mission. And I'm also very proud of how we're taking the financial education and doing a pilot program with Dallas ISD to help teach families how to build overall financial stability. And one of the ways we're doing this is by offering it's a K through 12 app for students in 6 Dallas ISD elementary schools to help with early financial education. So just really proud of that work that Habitat's doing. And that's also something that I don't know a lot of people would expect or realize that we're doing, because it's a little bit different than just building a home.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Those are, just critical needs out there. As you mentioned, anybody across the country can take advantage of those financial education opportunities. It's really helped. COVID unfortunately has made us, fortunately or unfortunately, made us think differently about the way we do business. And offering those virtual financial education classes is one way.
And then in final closing, I want to make the point, because this is about affordable housing, that this is both an economic and a social issue, which is why it's so important to address. It's not one or the other, but it's necessary for both. As we want to continue our economic growth, well, we've got to have social growth at the same time. And Dallas has significant needs for affordable housing, which is why you're dedicating this podcast this year to it. And so I just want to make sure that everyone, we need as many people to join. We need as many voices to be a part of this affordable housing conversation, because we have to collaborate as a community in order to solve this problem, which is a very complicated problem. We could talk for hours on this, but it will take the whole community to solve it. But I do truly believe we can solve it. And I'm so proud to have you on board, Joli, as you're helping lead a lot of our advocacy efforts, because I do believe we can find the solutions to these problems.
Completely agree. Affordable housing is for folks across the income spectrum, right? There's folks that are teachers here in the city of Dallas or the county. There's firefighters, there's first year college grads fresh out of grad school. They should also be able to realize a home ownership as well. And affordable housing is for them too. Like you said, we are trying to bust stereotypes and myths and biases that some of us have around the affordable housing conversation. And I am excited to be a part of those advocacy efforts as well.
Well, thank you so much again for inviting me. I very, very much appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. Again, y'all, advocate, donate, and volunteer. Thank you for joining Don and myself on this Dallas Unplugged podcast. Y'all have a great one.